I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-minute convos where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good night, Patrick Pistor. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful night?
Oh, it's a lovely night here in Houston, Texas. Just got done having dinner with the family, and it's good talking to you.
Yeah, same here, my friend. Same here. It's a great pleasure to connect with you. A guy of the industrial world. That's always fun. You need to be quick to be in the industry, don't you?
You got to have your head on your shoulders. The podcast that I co-host, it's all about health, safety, environment, and we talk to a lot of people about just, like you say, keeping your head on your shoulders, keep people safe, and sharing your best practices in the industry.
Yeah, tell us the name of the podcast, please.
It's the Red Wings Oil and Gas HSE podcast. And we talked earlier, it's the Health, Safety, Environment podcast. And it's very oil and gas specific, but we touch on anything from process improvement to personal safety, communications, basically anything that is going to help keep the guys safe in the field.
Where did the idea come up from to incorporate the podcast with your message?
So this is actually the second of the Oil and Gas Global Network has two podcasts. One is Oil and Gas This Week, which is kind of a week in review. And the second show we started was Oil and Gas HSE. And it was really about getting the HSE doesn't get a lot of love in the oil and gas industry. We're thought of as the police or somebody to be feared. So being able to get the message out to the industry of, again, best practices, how to keep people safe. It's a passion of mine to share best practices in the industry, and this is just a good new format to get the message out there.
Was there a near miss that inspired this for you, Patrick, to get this done?
Not exactly. I mean, I used to work with incident investigations, so I got to see a lot of near misses, injuries, accidents, things that could easily be prevented and avoided, but the industry just doesn't. They talk a lot about the initial incidents, but they don't talk about the follow-up. What actions were taken to make sure it'll never happen again. And that's what I try and get out there. We try and interview our guests and find out what they're doing in the industry that's working for them and what's keeping people safe.
Which is so important, right? The opportunity to share stories, which is a grand opportunity. Even like VR, right? It's just presenting more and more of an opportunity to expand on the way something can be communicated.
Yeah, I think we're well beyond the classroom only. It's got to be everything. It's got to be classroom, in the field. Like you said, bring in new technology in, whether that's VR or some other piece of technology that can help educate the industry.
It definitely can be a daunting task. Why will you continue to repeat the skill of sharing the message that needs to be heard in the industry?
Well, we were a little unsure that the oil and gas industry was ready for podcasting, and some of the older guys in the industry, we've heard stories they'll get their somebody in the office to help them load the podcast on their phone or on their computer, but the medium's here, and we're going to use it. Like I said, we've got 2, now 3 podcasts out. We've got another 3 or 4 in the works, working on sponsorships. So like I said, the podcasting is here. It's only getting stronger, and people are using it. So we're going to use it as a platform to, again, share best practices and make sure whatever message it is, whether it's safety, technology, entrepreneurship. We've got a lot of shows coming out, all focused on the oil and gas industry, though.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is going to be cracking the code on the cultural aspect, breaking that barrier. Would you agree?
It's funny you say that, because that is a constant reoccurring theme. It's how do you build the culture, and how do you break bad habits? How do you share culture? Because that's what everybody wants to do is solidify a good, safe culture and cultivate it, because a single incident or bad manager can instantly kill a good culture.
Yeah. All the best, my friend. You definitely share the passion. I mean, you do have the P's in your name, right? Patrick Pistor. So definitely hats off.
I love that alliteration. That's right.
Hats off to what you're doing, my friend. Tell us one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years.
And that, I think, it goes part and parcel with the podcast. I love to learn. So whether it's reading nonfiction or listening to podcasts or going to the endless conferences that I go to, it's a continual self-improvement. I think I've done consistently, not just for the last 3 years, but my entire life. It's all about, learning and bettering myself.
How does that make you feel?
To be honest, it gives me a lot of confidence. I never like to say I know everything. I'm always trying to learn, but when you study, when you start to understand the way different aspects work, whether it's digital marketing or safety or process improvement, being able to put all those things together, it does give me a lot of confidence to pretty much tackle any situation I'm presented with.
So usually I ask the question, are you married, like in the time machine, right? But are you married?
Yes.
Yeah. How has this impacted your marriage?
It's helped me communicate, I guess. Whether it's the podcast or the process improvement, being able to communicate. And my wife's actually a professional communicator, so I've been the one who's had to work on the communication side of things. But it's been positive.
Yeah, I could definitely see what you're doing impact your marriage in terms of the communication side, because it seems as though it's the thread throughout the entire thing, right? Attentive listening. That's necessary, that you can definitely apply in relationships. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, great stuff. So hey, suggest to someone that's listening, someone that, I mean, HSE applies to so many aspects of life, not only the oil and gas industry. Suggest to someone why they should be a bit more attentive with their health and safety and the environment.
It's really just taking the time to think about what you're about to do, and not just thinking about what you're about to do, but what are the unintended consequences, whether you're driving down the road and you decide to text, or you're about to climb the ladder to change a light bulb. Think about what's the worst that could happen, and just give it a quick thought. It doesn't take more than a couple seconds. Just think about what are those unintended consequences in everything you're about to do. I actually give the example, if you're taking a plate of food and a glass of water to go sit down and watch TV or a movie or something, maybe you should take 2 trips, because I know countless times I've spilled something doing that. It's just a relatable thing to talk about. That just, like I said, give it 3 seconds. What are the unintended consequences about what you're about to do?
Amazing audience, you're hearing it live from Patrick Pistor, again, podcast host. Patrick, let's switch gears for a moment now, and let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Patrick, what is your earliest childhood memory?
That was a tough question to answer, because I don't know if it was something I've seen, or a picture somebody told me about, but the smell of natural gas on the stove reminds me of my mom cooking in the first house. Oh. I couldn't have been more than 3 or 4 years old, but when I smell cooking gas, it always takes me back to that little shotgun house of my mom cooking in the kitchen.
Wow. I mean, well, all right. So I'll let you do it. Why do you think this memory is so clear, and how do you see it connecting to who you are today?
It's hard to define, because we weren't in that house for very long. I can only say that my parents are very close and supportive. My father since passed away, but my mother's still around. And it just has to be it must have been just as supportive as she was at that time, and has been throughout my life. I can't quite pinpoint exactly why that draws me back, but I assume it's the connection I have with my parents.
Yeah, that's intriguing. Well, can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Please.
To be aware of what's going on at that time and what is located with the power of gas. It's pretty fascinating to me that you are now in the industry. Even to see what cooking on a stove, right, on a natural gas stove, is probably one of the most unsafe things that there are in households. I mean, it's an open flame, right? and to see that you're seeing your mother navigate, your family navigate around that, and understanding what is safe and what isn't. Like, I would just tie that back to your passion right now to ensure that others are safe around what could be one of the most dangerous industries in the world.
Angel, I've got to be honest, I love your interpretations. I think that's my favorite part about your podcast.
I appreciate that, my friend. It's actually my favorite part too. Well, Patrick, if we fast forward to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
It's a little nerdy, but it was Weird Al's Trigger Happy. And prior to that, I was a big Beach Boys fan, and then got into Weird Al, and that song is very Beach Boys style. So that's the one I can prominently remember.
All right, we'll take that. All right, my friend. Well, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there is a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready, Patrick?
Ready.
Patrick, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
No, I have not.
Well, you said you're married, right? She's the reason you communicate so well. Do you have children?
2 children.
Do you believe in God?
Yes.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
I do.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
How about 3 hours a week?
Yes.
What about screen time, the phone and the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Too much, more than 8.
Patrick, if you had to share with us your own unique career statement, a statement that represents Patrick Pistor, what would you say that is?
I would say saying yes to opportunity. Don't let fear hold you back from anything. It's how I got into podcasting and my own business. Just being open to opportunity. Don't say no, say yes.
Love it. Patrick Pistor, this was a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
If you work in an industrial setting and you want to find out more about how to keep your people safe, definitely check us out on the Oil and Gas HSE podcast. I've got my own business. We do digital marketing for industrial B2B businesses. So you can check me out at Oilfield. But other than that, Angel, it's been great being on your show.
Hey, Patrick Pistor, this was a great pleasure, my friend. Thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.